Great. So let's get started. So we have the name of this call is Money Coming, Money Going. What if you could have it all? So money is one of my favorite topics to talk about as well, because my point of view is no one needs to have a money problem. And I know that really annoys some people when I say it, that no one needs to have a money problem, but it's true. It's like, what if money wasn't a necessity? What if money was a choice? It's like, how many of you are making it a necessity rather than a choice? Now, when I say this, I hear people go, oh yeah, but I have to pay my rent, or, you know, I have to do this, or I have to, you know, buy food, etc. Well, no, you don't. It's like, you could be homeless. It's like, you could just keep knocking on doors and beg for food. It's like, it's a choice. So everywhere that you've made money a necessity, because if you make something a necessity, then you have this place where it's like, you know, the need of you must have something. And it's like, it's a forced energy rather than a playful energy. And if money is a choice, then money can show up with a lot more ease, joy, and glory. And one of the stories I like to talk about is, if you're going to have a party, and I'm going to invite you to my party, and I'm going to say, okay, would you like to come to my party? You know what? I'm probably going to be really grumpy. And when you come over, I'm going to yell at you, and I'm going to tell you how bad you are and that you're not enough. And then there's going to be no food, and there's not going to be any music. Or if there is, it's going to be really bad music, and there'll be no dancing, and there'll be none of that. So do you want to come to my party? And you're like, no. And that's what we continuously do with money. We go, why don't you show up? And we yell at it, and we're not grateful when it does show up because it's never enough. And it's like, we've got all of these judgments and these points of views and conclusions and limitations around money, rather than, what if you created your life as this joyful energy? You're like, okay, so let's invite money into our life, into our living. So what's going to be occurring? Well, I'm going to wake up happy. I'm going to wake up happy no matter what. And I'm going to be grateful for everything around me. I mean, I'm very grateful for where I live. I wake up and I can hear the sound of the ocean. And this morning I woke up and was like, God, I love that crashing sound, especially when it's like 5 a.m. and everyone else is not awake, and the sound of the ocean just crashing. And then the birds, you know, have already begun, and the birds are starting, and, you know, the nature all around me. And I'm really grateful for my house as well. So if you wake up with gratitude and wake up with the choice of knowing that you can choose to be happy, and then ask, okay, so what can I create today? I mean, I usually ask something along the lines of, what can I be and do what can I be and do to contribute to consciousness today? And then one of the things I do as well, and let's do this right now, is destroy and uncreate everything that you decided you were yesterday. Because how many of you decided you were limited with money? Or that you had, you know, only a limited amount of choices. So POC and POD, everything that you decided you were yesterday, right and wrong, good and bad, POC and POD, all names, shorts, boys and beyonds. And let's do a 13. Let's change tracks. Time to change it up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 13, 13, 13, 13. And 13 is about literally changing track. So if you think of a train coming along, you pull the lever, and it's like, and then you change track. So it's not about going, yay, life's going to be better. It's literally changing track. So you start to get over your own point of view. What I've noticed is the limitations, conclusions start to go, because my proprioception was just like, whoa. And it's like, that can show up as well. So how does it get any better than that? And there is no wrongness, and it's not trying to get this right. How many of you have been trying to get money right? And everything that is, times the Godzillion, where you destroy and uncreate it. Right and wrong, good and bad, POC and POD, all names, shorts, boys and beyonds. And just in case you know nothing about the clearing statement, I'm pretty sure everyone on here has done an access class, and I know that they're putting these up on YouTube. So if you haven't, you can go check out theclearingstatement.com, and the wonderful Dr. Dane here talks about it and gives a really good description, because he's so freaking good at that. So let's talk about need, because need is actually an invention. Every single time you go to need, I need this or I need that, it's an invention, okay? And need will justify your greed, because you think that you are doing without, rather than the energy of what you could have and be. So if you're inviting money to your party of possibilities, and you're waking up choosing happiness. You're waking up grateful. You're waking up asking, what can I create today? What can I do and be to contribute to consciousness today? What can I do and be to contribute to my financial reality today? And everything that doesn't allow you to perceive, know, be, and receive all of that, we destroy and uncreate it. Right and wrong, good and bad, POC and POD, all names, shorts, boys and beyonds. And let's run this. So what invention are you using to create the need of money are you choosing? While that just mulls over, I'll have a sip of my lemon water. And everything at that is times a godzillion, we destroy and uncreate it. Right and wrong, good and bad, POC and POD, all names, shorts, boys and beyonds. And what invention are you using to create the needs you are choosing? And everything at that is times a godzillion, we destroy and uncreate it. Right and wrong, good and bad, POC and POD, all names, shorts, boys and beyonds. And who or what have you decided can fulfill your needs? Who are you waiting on to fulfill your needs? Wow, everything at that is times a godzillion, we destroy and uncreate it. Just going to turn off my notifications. Right and wrong, good and bad, POC and POD, all names, shorts, boys and beyonds. So the interesting thing is, it's like I've done, sessions with different people, etc., and they're waiting for their inheritance, or they're waiting for a man or a woman to come along and look after them. What if you never had to wait for anyone? It's like, what if you could create far more than what you've been willing to acknowledge? And everything it doesn't allow you to acknowledge that, we destroy and uncreate it. Right and wrong, good and bad, POC and POD, all names, shorts, boys and beyonds. So let me run those three clearings again, and then we'll talk a little bit more about being more aware of your financial reality. So what invention are you using to create the need of money are you choosing? And everything at that is times a godzillion, we destroy and uncreate it. Right and wrong, good and bad, POC and POD, all names, shorts, boys and beyonds. And what invention are you using to create the needs you are choosing? Everything at that is times a godzillion. My goodness, you have a lot of needs. We destroy and uncreate it. Right and wrong, good and bad, POC and POD, all names, shorts, boys and beyonds. And who or what have you decided can fulfill your needs? I mean, how many of you are waiting on the knight in shining armor coming on a white horse, and you live in the middle of a city? Have you ever seen many white horses, riding down the middle of the street? So everything at that is times a godzillion, we destroy and uncreate it. Right and wrong, good and bad, POC and POD, all names, shorts, boys and beyonds. Okay, I lied. We're going to do them one more time because there's way too much energy on all of your needs. Time to get over your needs. It's like, how many of you are needing to prove that you're independent? I just spoke to someone that I work with, and they were saying to me a couple of times, they said, I'm not making access the source, meaning that access, and they work with access, meaning that they're not making access the sole source of their income. And they said it twice, and I went, hang on, there's way too much energy on that. It's like, yes, I get that you are not making, one place the source of your income and the source of your financial reality. And how much energy are you putting into access not being the source of your income? And they were like, oh shit, damn, yes. And it had this great sense of relief, like the walls came tumbling down. So how many places and spaces and people have you decided cannot be the source of a contribution to your revenue streams, to your income, to your currency flows? How many people, how many jobs, how many projects, how many possibilities are you refusing to receive? Because you can do it all on your own, because you're tough. And it's like, and you're Brazilian, and everything at that is times a godzillion, we destroy and uncreate it. Right and wrong, good and bad, POC and POD, all names, shorts, boys and beyonds. It's like, how many? Yeah.
There's a question here. Hello, Simone. How can we recognize the energy of what we are choosing? Can we speak a little more about that? Jacqueline is asking.
Yeah. So one of the things that I have been, we talk about an access, and I've been playing with it a lot more recently, is if you were being interesting point of view, so interesting point of view, I have this point of view, interesting point of view, I have this point of view, and you were being in allowance of you and everything around you. So interesting point of view and allowance. And you weren't trying to choose to make the right choice. And you also weren't going to the wrongness of you. Then you know what? You'd choose based on the energy. So what if you could choose based on the energy? Like, I mean, you know, just yesterday I had my niece, she's 15 and she's got some stuff going on, you know, 15-year-old stuff. and I'm going to San Francisco in 2 days' time. And I looked at the energy of it, and because I spoke to her mom, and her mom said, can she come up and stay with you for a few days? And I said, I'm going to San Francisco. And I looked at the energy and it went, oh, choose based on the energy, take her to San Francisco. So we quickly arranged everything last night with, you know, visa, you know, booking ticket and everything like that. So she's now coming to San Francisco with me. That was not chosen based on anything linear. It's chosen based on the energy. So what do you know that you're refusing to know, that if you acknowledged it, you would choose based on the energy, not on trying to be right or going to the wrongness of you? And everything at that is times a godzillion, we destroy and uncreate it. Right and wrong, good and bad, pock and pot, all nine shorts, boys and beyonds. So play with this. And it's like, play with, I mean, it could be the smallest of things. If you're, you know, you're going out to dinner or something, and it's like, instead of going, oh, it's, you know, it's Tuesday night, the, you know, the Italian place has a special blah, 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 let's go there. It's like, okay, so if I was choosing based on the energy, where would my body like to go, and where would we all like to go, and what's going to contribute? So if you were choosing based on what was going to contribute to you every single day, what would you choose? And how many of you are avoiding that choice to choose based on the energy because you've decided you have to get it right? And everything at that is times a godzillion, we destroy and uncreate it. Right and wrong, good and bad, pock and pot, all nine shorts, boys and beyonds. So if you have the ability, oh yeah, you do, to be any reality, what reality are you not choosing that if you would choose to be it, would create a totally different reality? And everything at that is times a godzillion, we destroy and uncreate it. Right and wrong, good and bad, pock and pot, all nine shorts, boys and beyonds. Wow. It's like, what if you could have a completely different financial reality? So if you have the ability to be any financial reality, what financial reality are you not choosing that if you would choose to be it, would create a totally different financial reality? And everything at that is times a godzillion, we destroy and uncreate it. Right and wrong, good and bad, pock and pot, all nine shorts, boys and beyonds. That's cool. I like that process. We're going to do that again. So if you have the ability to be any financial reality, what financial reality are you not choosing that if you would choose to be it, would create a totally different financial reality? And everything at that is times a godzillion, we destroy and uncreate it. Right and wrong, good and bad, pock and pot, all nine shorts, boys and beyonds.
Simone,
Yes.
another question, can I?
Mm-hmm.
So Pedro is asking, how can I deal with the difficulty of speaking in public? I'm not on social media. I don't like being photographed. I don't promote my work, but I'd like to be a contribution.
Well, okay, so everywhere that you've decided that being a contribution is about being on social media and speaking in public, will you destroy and uncreate it? Right and wrong, good and bad, pock and pot, all nine shorts, boys and beyonds. And there's a few different things that you can choose to do. Like there's a lot of people, like Gary Douglas doesn't do his social media. Somebody else does his social media. So if you decide to, it's like you could get somebody else to do your social media, or, and it's like, ask, who does it belong to? Like, how aware are you? How many points of view are you picking up on of others that aren't even yours? So ask, use the tool of who does this belong to, and is this mine? When you go to speak in front of people. I mean, how many times do you walk into a room? Sorry, my nose is really itchy. How many times do you walk into a room and you're like, oh no. And it's like, but is that yours? Or is it everybody else's point of view? Everybody else's paranoia, everybody else's need that they have of to be liked, to be seen, or not be seen. And everything that that is times a godzillion, we destroy and uncreate it. Right and wrong, good and bad, pock and pot, all names, shorts, boys and beyonds. So use the tool of who does this belong to and is this mine? And ask, okay, so what would it take for me to be a contribution? I mean, that's so this reality. It's like you being you by engaging with anyone. It's like, I mean, we just had a Joy Business catch up with all the JCFs just before this. And one of the things that one of the JCFs was talking about is she woke up the other day and was like, okay, she thought she should do some work, etc. And she just got this awareness to go down to the farmer's market. She said, I didn't really need anything at the farmer's market, but I thought I'd walk down the street. And she ended up meeting this guy and talking to him about his business and, you know, going in and they're talking about like these cocktails and how to make cocktails, and it was a bar business, etc. But she was engaging with this person. So how many people are you refusing to engage with that if you engaged with would create a different reality, a different financial reality, a different business reality, a different reality? And everything that is times a godzillion, we destroy and uncreate it. Right and wrong, good and bad, pock and pot, all names, shorts, boys and beyonds. Okay, is there any other questions there, Norma?
Not now.
Okay, so let's talk about with your financial reality. It's like big.
Another question.
Okay.
Another question just came in. Okay, so Tobias wants to know, when I choose something and everything's flowing smoothly, is that the sign that my choice is creating more?
Well, yes. I mean, you'll know if your choice is creating more, but the one thing I would ask is don't go to, did I make the right choice? Because there is no right choice ever. Okay. So, and keep choosing. Like, how many times do you choose something and you go, wow, that was great. That opened up something, and then you stop choosing. So don't stop choosing. It's like choose, and it's like possibilities open up, and then you choose again, more possibilities open up, choose again, more possibilities open up. Like, what if everything just got greater and better and greater and better and greater and better and greater and better, and not based on judgment, based on the amount of possibilities that you are willing to receive showing up in one moment. And everything that doesn't allow you to receive all possibilities that are available, where you destroy and uncreate it. Right and wrong, good and bad, pock and pot, all names, shorts, boys and beyonds. So with your financial reality, because this is, you know, I mean, we're talking about whatever, but this is called money coming, money going. What if you could have it all? One of the things that I wanted to share with you on this, you know, short Zoom here is if you start looking at your financial reality and getting clear on what it is, okay? So there's two things that I would like you to do. This is home play that you can take away so that you can become more aware of the money that's coming and the money that's going. So one is, I want you to write down all of your expenses that you have, like every single expense you have, whether it's mortgage, rent, you know, kids' school fees, travel, you know, you go out to dinner 5 times a week. It's like whatever it is, like how you would actually like to live your life, not a budget. This is not about living in poverty and living in lack. This is about what are your expenses and what would you like to have as your life? Do you want to buy a new pair of shoes each week? I don't know. What is it for you? You know, write it down. And write it down. And then if you can, ask your bookkeeper or your accountant. And if you don't have one, then you might want to look at, you know, looking at what you're creating. If you want to create something bigger, get a profit and loss statement if you have one for the past 12 months. So for example, you might write down, okay, so petrol for my car is, you know, $150 a month. So you write down $150 a month. But then you realize when you look at your profit and loss statement that everything to do with your car, you got new tires, you had to get it, you know, registered or the car serviced. Oh, it ends up being, you know, $210 a month. That is my car expenses. So you get really clear, and everything that is, and everywhere that you guys just went, oh, I don't want to know about that. We destroy and uncreate it. Right and wrong, good and bad, pock and pot, all names, shorts, boys and beyonds. Because if you get clear on your finances, then you will create more. That's how it works, all right? So get clear on your finances and write down how much it costs to run your life. And the first time I did this, it was about $8,000 a month. And I was not earning $8,000 a month. And I want you to add 10% for your 10% account so that you can put 10% away of every single thing that you earn that's just for you. And I can talk about that in a minute if you guys don't know about that. And then add another 20% because there's always something else that shows up. And then you have that amount of money. And the first time I did it, like I said, $8,000 was the amount that showed up. And I sat there and went, oh my God, how am I going to create $8,000 a month? And freaked out for about 10 minutes. And then I poured myself a glass of wine and went, okay, Simone, you need to create what this looks like. And if you're in debt, you can also include that. Like if you owed, X amount of money, divide it by 12 or divide it by 24 so that you can say, okay, I need an extra, $1,000 or $2,000 or $10,000 a month to actually get out of debt. And that, as I know Emily was talking about before, you've got a lot of information on that on the Getting Out of Debt Joyfully book or the Getting Out of Debt Joyfully, year-long course. So, but work out what it is that it costs to run your life. And then what I did was, after I poured my glass of wine and went, okay, freaking out is not going to get anywhere, is I went, all right, what do I need to do, be, have, create, and generate to have more money showing up in my life, more money than I actually need? And I know that I spoke about the need before, but if you put it into this, like, this is my expenses and this is what I need, it's a different energy to it. So everything that is times a godzillion where you destroy and uncreate it. Right and wrong, good and bad, POC and POD, all nine shorts, boys and beyonds. And then the second piece to this that I want you to do is write down everything that you earn, whether it's, $5, $10, $100, $1,000, whatever it is for you. Write it down, everything that you earn each month, so that you can actually see, because so many times people go, God, I don't know where the money goes. Well, it's like, have a look at your expenses, look through it and say, okay, do I need all of these? If you do, okay, what else can I create? What else can I add to my life? And then write down everything that you earned, because most of the time when people do this, they don't realize how much money they've actually earned. They just see that the bank account is empty. And what if you're willing to have more money showing up than what you've actually decided you require? And everything that is times a godzillion where you destroy and uncreate it. Right and wrong, good and bad, POC and POD, all nine shorts, boys and beyonds. How many of you are willing just to have money in your bank account? I mean, the amount of people that, that I talk to or in classes, etc., when they have money show up and then they go, oh, where does the money have to go? So how many of you, when money shows up, you go, oh, what bills do I have to pay? I must owe money somewhere, rather than go, yay, money showed up and I don't have to buy anything. I don't have to go shopping. I don't have to pay a bill. I don't have to owe anyone money. I can actually just have money. So take a moment and look at the energy with that and be with the energy of that. What would it be like if you just had money? If you just had too much money and never enough? And what energy, space, and consciousness can you be that would allow you to have too much money and never enough? And everything that is times a godzillion where you destroy and uncreate it. Right and wrong, good and bad, POC and POD, all nine shorts, boys and beyonds. So what energy, space, and consciousness can we all be that would allow us to have too much money and never enough? And it's designed to fry your mind, and everything that is times a godzillion where you destroy and uncreate it. Right and wrong, good and bad, POC and POD, all nine shorts, boys and beyonds. So put that on a loop and it's like, start running it. So get clear on your financial reality, what it is to your expenses, and get clear on what it is that you're earning, and start asking for more. And do this every 6 months. Okay, you do this every 6 months because your life changes. And when I first did it, I was, renting, living on my own. It was like I was single. And then I got into a relationship who had a child. So we bought a house. So we had mortgage, we had school fees, we had, a dog. It's like all these different things, increase the expenses. And it's like your life changes all the time. So your expenses and your income are going to change. So everywhere that you've decided that your life is the same all the time, rather than acknowledging that it changes every single day where you destroy and uncreate it, right and wrong, good and bad, POC and POD, all nine shorts, boys and beyonds. Cool. So is there any other questions, Norma?
Yes, another just came in. I just realized I have interesting points of views and blockages about uh, having over one source of income, as if I had to make lots of effort, 10 times more, meaning much more work. Can Simone speak about something that would bring lightness for the idea of having two or more income sources?
Yeah. Well, um, it's interesting because there was a lot of, over the years, I had quite a few different businesses that became successful and, I was earning money from them, whatever. And then for me, I thought, and it's so projected at you with this reality, it's like, what's a full-time job? Monday to Friday, 9 to 5. I'm sorry, there's a hell of a lot more hours in the day. What else do you want to create? And to me, it's not about a job, it's not about work, it's about creation. Like I always get people saying, do you ever get time off? Do you get to have a holiday? And I was like, I was just in Mauritius doing a COP and it was gorgeous. I opened up my door, there's the ocean, there's the beach. I dive straight into the water. It's like every day is like a holiday to me and every day is a work day. So everywhere that you've limited what you can actually create by the projections of this reality of the hours that you are supposed to work and you're supposed to have time off, where you destroy and uncreate that first, right and wrong, good and bad, pock and pot, all nine shorts, boys and beyonds. And it actually took till I met Gary Douglas, where he was watching what I was doing. And I had this business when I met him and I started to destroy it because I was like, ooh, access is exactly what I've been asking for. So I'm going to, go down this road. And he said to me, you do realize you don't have to destroy a business to have another one. And literally in my world, I was like, wow, you're allowed to have two different, businesses. You're allowed to have like these two different revenue streams. I know that might sound, crazy or normal for you guys, or I don't know where you're at right now. But that was the moment that I went, oh, I can create many different businesses, many different revenue streams. It doesn't have to be about just one. So everywhere that you are focusing on just one revenue stream, rather than the capacity to receive a lot more revenue streams where you destroy and uncreate it, right and wrong, good and bad, pock and pot, all nine shorts, boys and beyonds. I like to give you the example of how many documents do you have currently open on your computer? Like how many sticky notes do you have open? It's like how many notes, like whatever it is for you. What if that is the amount of revenue streams that you could have and receive, that you could do, be, have, receive, generate? And everything, it doesn't allow that to show up where you destroy and uncreate it. Right and wrong, good and bad, pock and pot, all nine shorts, boys and beyonds. I mean, I find it interesting, like Gary Douglas has created this phenomenal business worldwide of creating more consciousness on planet Earth. And he didn't go, well, this is a really big business, so I don't have time for anything else. Nope. He has chosen to have, the Antique Guild in Brisbane. And then, open up other possibilities of selling antiques and jewelry. He chose to open up the castle in Italy. He chose to do, El Lugar in Costa Rica. And he's got, other things going on in Houston as well. He didn't say, I don't have the time to do that, because it's not about time. It's about the ability and the willingness to receive more. So everywhere that you've been refusing to perceive, know, being, receive, all the possibilities that are available, all the revenue streams that are available, where you destroy and uncreate it, times a godzillion, right and wrong, good and bad, pock and pot, all nine shorts, boys and beyonds. And all the projections and expectations that other people have of you, of what you should be doing and cannot do, where you destroy and uncreate it, right and wrong, good and bad, pock and pot, all nine shorts, boys and beyonds. I remember my mum said to me at one stage, you have no idea how to relax. And of course I went, yeah, I have no idea how to relax. Oh, and then I went, hang on a second. What's her definition of relaxing? Oh, her definition of relaxing is sitting in front of the TV for hours on end. And I went, yep, you're right. I have no idea how to relax, as her definition. But for me, it's like, you know what, traveling around the world and facilitating consciousness and waking up each day and being incredibly grateful for the life that I have created and the people that I've met and what I get to be around the world. That's a sense of relaxation, of relaxation, of stepping into more creation. So everywhere that you haven't been willing to be that and receive that, where you destroy and uncreate it. Right and wrong, good and bad, POC and POD, all names, shorts, boys and beyonds. There's a different possibility available, everyone. Your reality is a different possibility. You don't need to be like somebody else's reality. You need to ask for what is your reality. If you were creating your reality and creating your financial reality today, what would you choose? What would you change? And everything that doesn't allow you to perceive, know, be, and receive that, will you destroy and uncreate it? Right and wrong, good and bad, POC and POD, all names, shorts, boys and beyonds. So,
Hi, Simone.
Yes.
Well, in fact, there are quite a few questions, but I'm going to read the first that shows up here, okay? So, good evening, Simone. Could you say something about what to do when money comes in to someone and then this same money has to go out with some kind of loss? I'm not able to save anything. If it comes in, it goes out. If a student shows up, another one goes out. Or if it stopped,
Yeah.
then it goes back and never forward.
Okay. So I think I get the energy of this question, and it's a little bit like what I was talking about before. It's like you have to be willing to have money. So what I would suggest is play with the energy of having money. And what I want you to do is like get a bunch of cash out, right? And have a bunch of cash and something that you think is too much cash to have, and play with it. It's like sit down, put it all over your bed. It's like roll around naked on it if you need to. And it's like, or, sit it out on the kitchen bench while you celebrate and have a glass of champagne and check out the money. I mean, you guys have really beautiful money as well. It's like in Brazil, and it's like, check out the money, and it's like, get familiar with it. And I know this sounds like, really? Isn't that crazy? How is that going to create me having money? But what occurs is you end up with this energy of going, oh, I actually have money. Like recently, there's been a whole bunch of changes in my life that have occurred. And I actually have have more money in my bank account than I've ever had before. And I found myself last week going, oh, I wonder what bills I have to pay. And I went, oh, wow, you're doing this, Simone. And I went, no, let's just have money. Let's just accumulate more money. What would that be like? So that I have money to choose anything that I would like. So yesterday, it was really fun to be able just to go, oh, you know what? I'll buy my niece a ticket to San Francisco because I have money and I can do that. And that is something I choose to do. So practice having money around. And one of the ways that I actually created this for myself was, and I got this from the Money Isn't the Problem You Are book by Gary Douglas, the founder of Access Consciousness, and Dr. Dane Heer, co-creator, and is to carry an amount of money around with you that you perceive a wealthy person would carry. So for me, I went, all right, that's about $1,000. And I carried it around in different currencies because to me, I went, that represents who I am. I was traveling to New Zealand and Australia and America and Canada and the UK. So I had all these different currencies that added up to about $1,000. And I used to carry it around with me at all times. And people go, well, what happens if someone steals it? Or blah, 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 like all these justifications for why you shouldn't do it. Here's my theory. What if you actually stopped going to the justifications of what you should do and you shouldn't do? And what if you tried something that was completely different? Because I know for myself, when I was $187,000 in debt and I kept choosing the same thing and nothing was changing. So I knew I had to change my point of view around money, and I knew I had to change how I was being with it. So I went, all right, what's the worst thing that can happen? Someone steals it. All right, it's $1,000 that got stolen. Okay. But you know what I noticed is when I have $1,000 on me at all times, I know where my purse is. I'm way more aware of money. I'm way more aware and way more present with how I'm being, where I'm going. And it's like what I'm choosing. And I never spent that money. So you always have this place where you have money on you. Okay. So practice having money. And when money comes in, it's like, ask, okay, am I trying to find somewhere to send this money out as soon as possible? And do the 10% account. If you haven't done it, or if you haven't heard about it, I'll talk about it briefly, is every single dollar that comes in, put 10% away for you. And this is not about putting it away for bills in the future. It's not for a holiday. It's not to help a friend out. It's not for when you're in dire straits. It's literally an honor account for you. So you earn $10, you put $1 away. $100, you put $10 away. Even if you're in debt, and this is the thing that I did, which went, really, this makes no sense to me. I owe $187,000 and I'm putting 10% away. That's just for me. I was like, God, that's being so selfish. That was my judgment. No question in that. Notice only a conclusion. So how many conclusions do you go to about, how you be with money and everything that is times a godzillion, we destroy and uncreate it. Right and wrong, good and bad, POC and POD, all nine shorts, boys and beyonds. So what I did was I made the demand of myself. Okay, this makes no sense to me. Didn't want to do it. What if for 3 months I did this and I see what occurs at the end of it? So after 3 months, I looked at it and I went, okay, I actually have some money in my bank account. That's different. That was a novelty. But what I did notice was I didn't have this struggle. Like I wasn't trying to figure out where my rent was coming from each week, because I realized after 3 months of doing this, that literally, if I wasn't working for a month, I had enough money to pay my rent, to live, do what I desired. So I had the sense of having money and there wasn't this like desperateness around it. So that is the energy that changed for me with actually doing the 10% account. And when I realized that after 3 months that it had created that energy and started to change my point of view around money, I'd made the demand, okay, I'm going to do this for the rest of my life. And I haven't spent the 10% account on anything that eats away at it. Like, so not I haven't bought real estate with it. I haven't bought a horse with it or anything. I have spent my 10% account on things that have intrinsic value. So maybe, jewelry, diamonds, pearls, or something like that, that if I sold it tomorrow, I could sell it for the same amount of money or more. So something that has a level of investment is what I have done. But I also didn't do that until I had a certain amount of money in my bank account, which at first was about $30,000. This $30,000 was like, yep, okay, cool. That feels great. And then now it's like, I wouldn't spend anything, like I wouldn't buy anything else unless I had at least $100,000 in my 10% account. And the interesting thing is it changes the energy too with people like this reality with the banks, for example, because the banks go, oh, you've got over $100,000 just sitting in your bank account. Yeah, what is it that you need? So it's helped me create loans as well for buying real estate. So it's an investment in you, it's an honoring of you, and it's a creation of your future. So everywhere that you haven't been willing to have the creation of your future, where you destroy and uncreate it, right and wrong, good and bad, POC and POD, all nine shorts, boys and beyonds. Okay, so we've probably got time for about one more question, because there's another Zoom that Emily and Megan are doing on this account, apparently.
Can you
So
just
you
speak
pick
about...
it, Norma, pick the right question. Don't, no pressure.
Okay, so can you speak about competition? How to deal with aggressive, competitive people?
Yeah, be interesting point of view. Interesting point of view that they have this point of view. It's like competition is not real. Can anyone truly compete with you? Or is it you that competes with you? So if you buy into the energy of competition, then you will create based on the limitations of this reality. What you can do is ask, okay, so what can I do and be to out-create this person or this business or whatever it is today? And what can I be and do to out-create myself today? And everything at that is times a godzillion, right and wrong, good and bad, POC and POD, all nine shorts, boys and beyonds. So if you're asking to out-create, so say if you're an access consciousness facilitator, ask, what would it take for me to out-create every single access consciousness facilitator in the world today? And everything at that is times a godzillion, right and wrong, good and bad, POC and POD, all nine shorts, boys and beyonds. And what that does is it's not about creating competition. You're asking to perceive know, be, and receive all of their capacities and all of yours to step it up. So what if competition was an invitation for you to be more? Not to fight, but to be more. So everything that is times a godzillion where you destroy and uncreate it. Right and wrong, good and bad, POC and POD, all nine, shorts, boys and beyonds. And I'm not sure if it's in Portuguese or not, the 10 Commandments book or the Keys to Your Freedom. Is that translated?
The telecall is.
The telecall is. Okay. Get that telecall. If we can send that link out in with this Zoom as well, that they can purchase that. It's brilliant. And there's 10 keys to your freedom. And one of them is talking about competition. And it's incredible. It's like there's so many different, different information about competition beyond what I ever, thought it was. So start with what if competition isn't real? And it's like, what could you be to outcreate it? And get that telecall. It's great because it talks about, would an infinite being truly choose this? It's like interesting point of view. And it's like, no form, no structure, no significance. It's a brilliant, brilliant, brilliant call with Gary and Dane. So let's have one more question. Quick question. What is it?
Is there something that we can do to help us in changing our point of view about money? Me and my husband, we have different points of view about money. He wants to save it. I want to pay the bills and invest.
Okay, so especially when you're in a relationship with money, it gets a little interesting, and you have to be in allowance of what the other point of view is. And even sit down, and it's like, sit down with a nice dinner or something like that and a bottle of wine and say, okay, let's talk about money. We started this thing with Joy Business called Money Mondays. So on Mondays, it was date night to talk about your finances. And there's one of the JCFs, I love it. She took her husband out to dinner one Monday night to talk about their finances and what they want to create. And he was quite resistant to it. So the next Monday, she took him out to a better restaurant and a better bottle of wine and said, now will you talk about our finances? So it's like, if you're with someone, make it something that you extrapolate with, that you create with that person and say, hey, you know what? I'd really like to create with you. And it was Lauren Marine. She just wrote in the thread, it worked. and ask, I'd like to create with you. And it's like, so how do we create this that it works for you and it works for me? Would you be willing to give, some of this a go? And it's like, and I'd be willing to save some money too. So it's like, you've got to be willing to receive the other person's point of view and not resist it. So play with it. All right. And ask, okay, so what if we could save some money and invest and pay the bills? What would we have to be? What would we have to change? What would we have to choose if we were going to be all of that? Because each and every single one of you has a different awareness around money. So, and changing your point of view around money as well, the one thing that I would suggest is when I first realized that I had to change my point of view, I went 10% account, carrying an amount of money around with me that I perceived the wealthy person would carry. So I've spoken about both of those, and also the working out my expenses, the financial reality, and how much money that I earn. And then what I did was, at the end of each night, I used a clearing statement and I would POC and POD everywhere that I have uninvited money today. Because we have this point of view that we go, I'd like more money to show up. Yeah, I'd like more money. And then, we're so quick to uninvite it. It's like we're present with ourselves when we ask for it, and then we're not when we refuse it. It's like the person I was talking to before, where she said, you know what, I know that access isn't the source of my money. And it was like, well, actually it is. So would you be willing to receive that? And then it might take you going out to lunch or something, and you look at the menu and your body goes, oh, can we get this expensive champagne and a lobster? And you go, oh no, we can't afford that. You just uninvited money. I'm not saying that you have to go and buy the expensive champagne and the lobster, but what you could do is recognize and acknowledge that is what you desire, and say, okay, so body, will you contribute to me making more money? Will you contribute to more money showing up so that we can buy that champagne and have the lobster with absolute total ease? and everything it doesn't allow that to show up, destroy and uncreate it, right and wrong, good and bad, POC and POD, all names, shorts, boys and beyonds. So it's not about going to the wrongness of what you have done today. It's about just at the end of the day, but do yourself a little note, put it on the mirror or something when you're brushing your teeth. And it's like POC and POD everywhere that I have uninvited money today. And everything at that is times a godzillion, right and wrong, good and bad, POC and POD, all names, shorts, boys and beyonds. So play with this, okay? Because the only thing that's limiting you is your point of view. So what if you could change your point of view? And every day I would ask, okay, is this my point of view about money? If I was choosing my financial reality, what would I choose? Because so many times you're brought up with these different points of view about money, and then from your parents, from your grandparents, from your next door neighbors, from school, etc., whatever that is, your colleagues, and then you start to buy that as your point of view. Next time you find yourself thinking, oh, that's too expensive. And it's like, based on what? Is that my point of view or somebody else's point of view? Oh, I'd love to have that in my life. All right, what's it going to take to create it? Okay, you need to be in question, not in answer and not in conclusion, because that will only create the limitations and create the limited reality you have with money, not the infinite possibility reality you could have with money. So everything that that is times a godzillion, we destroy and uncreate it. Right and wrong, good and bad, POC and POD, all names, shorts, boys and beyonds. Okay, we have to jump off this Zoom. It's very funny because Emily was like, you know, you usually only take about 45 minutes, and I feel like we could go on forever here based on, of course, because that's, you know, the humanoid reality. But Emily and Megan have a Zoom that they're about to jump on here in 13 minutes. So I want to thank you guys all for coming on here. And I have a Business Done Different class coming up in Brazil and Choice of Possibilities. I'm actually lucky enough to be going to Brazil for, it's about just over 2 weeks, I think. So from the 1st to the 3rd of June, there's the Business Done Different class. And then we've got from the 7th to the 9th of June, we've got the Choice of Possibilities, and it will be in Sao Paulo. And then actually, am I doing a Kickstart?
Yes, you are on the 31st. Yeah.
Okay, so the 31st.
It's half price for facilitators.
It's half price for facilitators. So if you're a certified facilitator, bars facilitator, even I open it up to a body process facilitator or a facelift facilitator, anything that you're a facilitator of with Access Consciousness, you get on the 31st of May, the Kickstart Your Business evening 50% off. I'd like you to increase your business. Would you? It's like, let's play. And then I would highly recommend coming to the 3-day class. It's going to be awesome. So I'm super, super excited. So thank you so much, everyone. Thank you, translators, and everyone who, you know, contributed to this and put this together. I adore you guys. How did we get so lucky, and what else can we create today?
Thank you, Simone.
Thank you.
All right. Good night.
Thank you, Simone.
Bye.
Hi.
Bye.
Bye.